Hey, what's up? This is 24 Chambers of Film. I'm Steven, and today I'm doing a top 10 list again. Top 10 horror films of all time, my opinion, of course. Let me just start by saying horror films are my favorite genre of movies. Yeah, they're the best. I mean, it's the one that captivates me the most. I love all genres, but horror films are the ones that really stimulate me and really get me excited. I just love horror movies since I can remember. Even when they used to terrify me, I was always intrigued by them and I always wanted to watch them, even when I was super scared of them as a young kid, young religious boy. But that just attracted me more, just the forbidden nature of horror movies. So, yeah, horror movies are great. This is a tough list to make. This is a list that's always changing. So right now, these are my top 10 horror films of all time. And if you haven't seen any of these, you got to go watch them right away and then come back and watch this video. So we're gonna get right into it. So let's start with number 10. 2018's The House That Jack Built, directed by the great Lars von Trier. If you don't know Lars von Trier, go watch his other films. He's a very provocative filmmaker, very controversial at times, but he's a very talented filmmaker, in my opinion. The House That Jack Built starts Matt Dillon as a serial killer, and you basically get the chronicle of five specific incidents of his killing career, and you're getting narrated. He's telling this story. He's narrating the film to the audience while he's talking to somebody named Verge, and played by Bruno Ganz, a German actor. And Matt Dillon is narrating these five incidents, all in different spans of his lifetime as a serial killer. It's a very unique take on a serial killer, very interesting, he very views the serial killer as an artist, as an art form, Matt Dillon's character, Jack. And yeah, it's a very disturbing, fucked up film. Very fucked up. I remember watching this in the theater, and in the middle of the film, there's a scene that happens in the film, and during one of the kills, this guy just stands up in the audience. Is like, this movie's too fucked up, and he just like gets up and leaves. And it was just like, I mean, yeah, it's pretty fucked up. It's not for everybody. This film's brutal. It's a tough watch at times. Yeah, Jack is a fucked up killer. I mean, but Matt Dillon plays him so good. The evolution of his character is very interesting to see. At one point he's very OCD, which actually creates a lot of humorous moments in the movie. As fucked up as this film is, it's also pretty damn funny at times. But yeah, I highly recommend it. By the way, spoilers ahead, of course. If you haven't seen any of these films, it might spoil some scenes or parts of these movies. So if you haven't seen them, come back and watch this video. Watch the films and come back. The House of Jack Builder. It's a great film. I mean, the music has a great track by David Bowie in there that's used a lot throughout the film. I mean, beautifully directed, very interesting, analogies on serial killing and stuff like that. And yeah, I really like it. I don't want to spoil too much about this film, but there's a lot of great scenes in this film. And probably my favorite scene is when Jack is trying to clean up a murder that he did, and he has really bad OCD at the time. So every time he's about to leave, he thinks about something that he didn't clean properly, and he keeps going back and forth, and it's just a great bit. Matt Dillon is phenomenal in this film. Uma Thurman's in this film; she's great in her scene. Yeah, there's just a lot of great moments in this film. What's the runtime? It's a pretty lengthy film, not crazy long, but let me see. There's got to be a runtime here. Come on. Lars von Trier. It doesn't say the runtime. I'm on Letterbox. I can't believe it is. Oh wait, 151 minutes. Yeah, it's a long film, not short, but I think it's well worth it. So it might be on Hulu. So check it out if you haven't seen it. I highly recommend it, but definitely not for everybody. But I recommend it on a first date. She's a real one or they're a real one if if they can watch this movie with you and don't run away. But yeah, anyways, The House of Jack Built, number 10. Next film, number 9. Number 9 is a 1994 classic comedy horror film by the great John Waters, another serial killer character. Beverly Sutton played brilliantly by Kathleen Turner. She is amazing in this film. She is hilarious. She's great. I remember watching this movie as a kid. This was a family movie that we watched. I remember we rented it from Blockbuster or Hollywood Video, whichever one. And yeah, we watched it. I watched it with my family, and it was great. It was one of the early rated R movies that I remember watching when I was 13. And it's great. It's just a funny ass movie, and also has great kills, great black humor in it. It's just a romp of a film, and it delivers on the horror elements and clearly on the comedy elements. It's definitely more comedy more than horror, but it's definitely a horror film as well. So if you haven't seen this film, I highly recommend it. It's directed by the great John Waters. If you haven't seen any of John Waters' films, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Go watch him. He's the Pope of Trash, the King of Filth. He's just a great filmmaker, a renegade filmmaker. He's just truly a unique talent, in my opinion. I know he has a new film coming out soon with Aubrey Plaza. I can't wait to see that. So yeah, Serial Mom has Matthew Lillard, Ricky Lake, Sam Waterston. Just a great cast. Justin Whalen. If you have not seen this movie, you have to go see it. There's so many great scenes. Definitely has one of my favorite. I definitely remember this movie for you know turning me on in the sense of like being young and be seeing her. There's a scene where Beverly Sutton, Kathleen Turner. I always found her very attractive. She's in the courtroom. She's trying to, please. She's pleading her case. But like as every defendant that kind of has something against her, not defendant, every witness that has something against her, it goes up to the stand. She's, trying to manipulate and get them to look crazy or get dismissed as not a good witness. So she starts like fanning her legs, and this pervert that caught her witness that witnessed her killing someone is like he's notices him like kind of her opening her legs back and forth, and yeah, it's just a hilarious scene. But that's one of my favorite scenes because I remember as a young kid it gave me a chub. And so Serial Mom, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Hilarious movie, great horror film as well. Just great performances all around. Highly recommend it. Go watch it. Next film, the Korean masterpiece, Memories of Murder, directed by the great Bong Joon Ho. If you don't know who Bong Joon Ho is, you must know that he made the film Parasite. That's where you would know him the most from. Academy Award winner Bong Joon Ho. Can't wait to see his next film, Mickey 17. But his best film isn't Parasite. His best film is this film right here, Memories of Murder. Came out in 2003. It's a serial killer cop procedural film set in South Korea, um, loosely based on a real serial killer. If you have not seen this movie, you gotta go see it. It is so goddamn good. If you like films like Seven, Zodiac, those type of movies, Silence of the Lambs, this is the movie for you. This movie is so good. The main characters are hilarious and compelling as hell. Song Kang Ho plays the lead, and Kim Sang Young is the other cop. And it's basically a conflict of styles. One is from the small town, and the other one comes from the city, and they have to, work together to catch the serial killer who's killing women who wear red, and he's, choking them with their panties and stuff. It's very, brutal kills, but it's so well done. The mystery who this killer is executed perfectly, and just the chemistry between all the characters is so good. And to me, my favorite thing in the film is the ending of the film. It's one of the best and most compelling and visually stimulating endings I've ever seen in a movie. It's so enigmatic as well. It's just a haunting ending. I love it so much. I mean, the ending is so good. If you haven't seen it, I think it's one of the top 10 easily, maybe top 5 endings of all time. Has one of my favorite last shots ever. Go see it. Memories of Murder. It's fucking masterpiece. Okay, number 7, From Dusk Till Dawn, 1996, directed by the great Robert Rodriguez, written by Quentin Tarantino. I mean, what can I say? But this film impressed the hell out of me when I first saw it. I did not know. I never knew what this movie was about. I remember seeing the cover art for it, From Dusk Till Dawn. I wasn't sure if it was a horror movie or if it was just a crime film, but I had never seen a trailer for it. So yeah, when me and my brother watched this, we were blown away that this was a vampire movie because the first half of this movie is a crime thriller about these criminals trying to get away. George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino plays George Clooney's brother, Seth and Richie Gecko, and it's them kidnapping this family with Harvey Keitel, Juliette Lewis, and what's his name? The son is Ernest Liu, and yeah, they kidnap this family and their RV, and they need to go to Mexico to meet their connect so they can start their new life as they're running away from the police because Richie Gecko got Seth Gecko, broke Seth Gecko out of jail, and they're on the run. So it's a great film. I mean, it's just has so many great moments in this movie. Very quotable film. But yeah, this movie has one of the best uh, switches of genres and tones ever in history. It blew my mind. You're in. It's like what 40 something minutes in, and then fucking vampires start showing up in this movie, and it is an awesome, campy, grotesque, hilarious romp of a film, and it's so exciting and engaging to watch. I mean, it has one of the best all hell breaks loose scenes with at the tavern that they go to meet to that they rendezvous at to go meet their connect in Mexico. It's called the Titty Twister, by the way, which is one of the best names ever for a bar. And and yeah, it's just a great movie. I mean, George Clooney has never been more badass ever. I think it's one of his best performances. My personal favorite performance of George Clooney. I'm sure he doesn't think that, but it really is. It's so good, and I think Quentin's great as Richie Gecko. He plays it good. It's a creepy part, but he plays it well. Everyone's good in this movie, pretty much. They all do their thing. But George Clooney is a standout. Cheech Marin plays multiple roles. He's hilarious. Danny Trejo's in this. It's just a great Salma Hayek, very iconic moment in this movie. She's great. The vampires look great. All the practical effects stuff in this film are great. Some of the CGI is a little shoddy because it's outdated, but overall it still works. It has a charm to it. And the film is supposed to be campy at times. And you get hints of the camp throughout the beginning of the movie that's sprinkled in there. But it's definitely does a strong tonal shift or goes full camp once the vampires hit, but it still delivers and the characters never change. They still are in a serious movie, which is great. So yeah, George Clooney's best film in my opinion, or best performance for sure. I think best film too. I mean, been in great films, but I fucking love From Dusk Till Dawn. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. I highly recommend it. And if you show it to somebody, don't tell them that there's vampires in this movie. But yeah, it's a great first time watch film. Number 6 is a Giallo film by the great Lucio Fulci. Don't Torture a Duckling, 1972. If you have not seen this movie, go see it. It's a Giallo. If you don't know what Giallo films are, they're essentially murder mysteries where usually amateur sleuth is trying to figure out a murder or a string of murders from a serial killer. The serial killer usually has black leather gloves, and you never see the serial killer. It's always from his point of view, or you get the back of him wearing coats or something like that. Sometimes they're masked, they usually use multiple weapons, but the razor blade, the old school razor blade, is usually a very common weapon in Giallo films. And it was, an Italian genre that was created, and yeah, it's basically a noir horror film essentially, but murder mystery and definitely a precursor to the slashers. Sometimes Giallos can be a slasher as well, so it's a very fluid genre at times. It can be, but it definitely has its things in its staples in there that make it a Giallo film. Usually the the reveal or the motivation of the killer is very kind of outlandish, but it's usually great. Don't Torture a Duckling is so goddamn good. It's visually stunning. Lucio Fulci just directs this film like it's a fucking the most expensive movie ever. Just some of the shots in this film are unreal. So well lit, beautifully photographed. I mean, it's great. I mean, the only thing that my people have a hard time, since it's an Italian film, everything's dubbed. Especially back then, they used to dub everything. So even the Italian, they would dub it in Italian, and it would sound, it has that dubbing sound, in the English dub. It still sounds good. You still get into it. If you get past that, no problem. You're gonna enjoy this movie. It's super cool film, and yeah, a really great mystery too. It has a great reveal, great ending, great kills, great practical effects. It's just a very heavy subject matter film, but it still has humor in it and stuff. But yeah, shot beautifully. I mean, I could just rant about the greatness of this film. Great script. Yeah, all the cast is great. You know, even though they're dubbed, they use their performances still shine through. But you haven't seen this film, Don't Torture a Duckling. I highly recommend it. It's probably my favorite Jallo film. No, it is my favorite Jallo film, not probably. There's a lot of other great ones, but this is the one I go to. It's so good. Whew, this is a good one. These top five are hard. You know, they're very interchangeable. Like 2 to 5 are very interchangeable. But number one it's pretty rock solid stuck in there. You know, I don't think that one's ever gonna change. But number five is 1974 Black Christmas, directed by Bob Clark, the great Bob Clark, who's done many movies like A Christmas Story. You probably know him from Porky's, just a you know Death Dream, which is a great horror film that he did after Black Christmas. But yeah, this film is so goddamn good. It's some people call it the Godfather of slasher films. I know Psycho is considered the first slasher, but this one really gave you the prototype of a slasher, more than Psycho, in my opinion. Even though Psycho is a slasher, this one really kind of, the girls or the young adults being stalked by a killer, before Halloween. And this one did it, and it did it so goddamn good, so inventive. The way it's filmed, the through the killer's point of view at times. The killer, you never see the face of the killer clearly, but he is one of the most scariest and demented slasher killers of all time, in my opinion. Billy is amazing. Doesn't get enough credit. He's goated, in my opinion. He's easily in the Mount Rushmore of slasher killers for me. Um, so yeah, Black Christmas. I highly recommend it. It's such a good film. You got Olivia Hussey, John Saxon, Andrea Martin. Um, you got Keir Delay. You got Margot Kidder. Lois Lane. If anybody's a fan of the '70s Superman films, and then yeah, you just got a great cast. It's a great film. The tension's great. It's really a truly creepy film. Really creepy. It has one of the most iconic and scariest shots I've ever seen. It gave me literally goosebumps, just like chills up my spine when I saw this one iconic scene. I think you guys probably know which one it is if you have any idea about this movie, but all it deals with the crack through a doorway, through a door, and an eyeball, and it is so haunting. The kills are great, even though they're not overly graphic. They're done really well, shot beautifully. Great soundtrack. It's a great mystery too. It even gets you kind of off. You think you think it's this, but then you're like, oh, wait, is it this? It's just a great, keeps you on your toes. I really love this film. Like I said, Billy's one of the best serial killers. I highly recommend it. Go watch it. Black Christmas. Do not watch the 2021, the newest version of Black Christmas. Don't watch that movie. Utter trash. They just called it, I don't even know why they called it Black Christmas, because they're trying to use the name to cash in on money. Had nothing related to do with this film besides the title, that it takes place in Christmas and there's killing in it. Really nothing connected to the original Black Christmas or even the 2006 remake, which is a lot better than that I think it was 2021 or 2022 version of Black Christmas. Don't go watch that. Actually, go watch it if you want to, but I'm saying I don't recommend it. If you're gonna watch Black Christmas, watch the original, and then also watch the 2006 remake. It's a good time. It definitely adds like an interesting backstory to Billy's character. But yeah, moving on. Number four, this film. I mean, I think this is on people's uh top three or their number one. The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, 1982. I mean, what this film is just a masterpiece on so many levels. A great cast. You got Kurt Russell, you got Keith David, you got TK Carter. You got a lot of actors that you recognize. Maybe they're not as known, but definitely Keith David and Kurt Russell are very known. And everyone is great in this film. What a great ensemble. I mean, this cast knocks it out the park. The paranoia is through the roof. The tension is so high in this film. And till this day, there's never been a better film with practical effects than this movie. Better than any fucking CGI movie. This movie is goated, I think, when it comes to practical effects. So good. It looks beautiful in 4K too. If you don't own it on 4K, you got to get it on 4K. This movie kicks ass. I remember seeing it, and I watched it probably later in life than I should. I mean, I watched it a while ago, but even then, I feel like this was a movie that I should have watched when growing up. Like this movie was so goddamn good. I was shocked that it took me. I think I didn't watch it till like 2007 or something. I was like, why did it take me this long? I was a senior in high school when I first saw it. And I'm around that time, and I'm like, why did it take me this long to see it? It's so goddamn good. I should have been seeing this movie so long ago. Instantly became one of my favorite films ever. So good. It's just a great movie in general, not just a great horror movie. It's just a great film. It's a great piece of cinema. So definitely watch this film. Basically, guy stuck in a Antarctica, research center, and basically their research center gets invaded by a shape shifting alien who can look like anybody. And when it does get outed, the shit fucking turns into whatever, starts destroying the body, and it looks horrendous and grotesque, but it's so glorious to watch because it looks so goddamn good. The makeup effects done by the great Rob Bottin. I wish he was still working. That guy is so talented. He was like 21 when he started working in the industry and doing practical effects. I mean, the guy is a fucking G, and he's my favorite. He did Total Recall, The Howling, so many great films. He's just a brilliant special effects makeup artist that is still alive, and I wish he was more open and would talk more and be on podcasts and stuff. But he's kind of a recluse now, apparently. But he's a G. He's one of the goats, and he's my personal favorite when it comes to special makeup effects. But The Thing, great film. I can't argue with anybody that says it's John Carpenter's best film. It's not. It's. I think it is his best film. I don't know if it's my favorite of his, but I think it's his best film. It's that fucking good. But yeah, that's my number 4, The Thing. Now, number 3. This could be a little bit controversial to some people, but Dawn of the Dead 2004 remake, directed by Zack Snyder. I like the original Dawn of the Dead, but I prefer this one way more. This movie is fucking badass. It's a great zombie action horror film. It takes the greatness of the original 1978 Dawn of the Dead and injects it with steroids and mutates it into this, and it is fucking awesome. I mean, the cast in this film is so good. This is Zack Snyder's directorial feature film debut, and he knocks it out the fucking park. You got Sarah Polley, Ving Rhames. This is my favorite Ving Rhames performance. He's so goddamn good in this. He's such a badass as Kenneth. And then you got Ty Burrell. I mean, you got Jake Weber. Michael Kelly is so goddamn good as CJ. You got a great Mekhi Phifer. I mean, it's a stat cast. It's a great a great cast of characters. Just a great horror film. It's just so enthralling. This is still to this day the best theater experience that I ever had in a movie theater. Me and my brother went to go see this, and we were fucking enthralled. We came out of that theater like hyped up. That's how good the experience was. It was a surreal experience. I've never reached that experience. I've gotten close with other movies, but they still have never topped Dawn of the Dead 2004 remake by Zack Snyder. It's a special thing. It's one of those things that reminds you why movies are so special and what they can do and where they can take you and where they can how they can make you feel. I felt like reborn watching that fucking movie. It like injected even more life into me. I'm not even exaggerating. That was a total sublime theater experience from the opening scene, the great opening scene of this film. If nobody knows what it's about, a zombie apocalypse happens. You follow one of the main characters, Sarah Polley, and she ends up at the mall with a bunch of other characters, and then they have to survive, from these zombies while they're at this mall. And it is so goddamn good. The original is more on a commentary on consumerism. This one kind of doesn't really get into that too much. It's very more. It kind of shortcuts that. It's in there, but it's not like how it is in the original. But it doesn't hurt it at all. It's so great. It's this is how remakes should be done. You take the premise and you do something new with it. And this way, you have running zombies in this one, which is different from the original. It's so goddamn good. Zack Snyder directed the hell out of this movie, written by James Gunn, the great James Gunn, who everybody knows now who he is, and just a great pairing between him and Zach. They really knocked this shit out of the park. Like I said, the cast is great, cinematography is great, the music is great. One of the best opening credit sequences of all time. This film has with When the Man Comes Around by Johnny Cash. It's used perfectly, and no other movie can use it as good as this fucking movie. I don't think so. With opening credits, it's so fucking good. I've seen other films use it, and they use it well, but just it doesn't beat Dawn of the Dead. But yeah, if you have not seen this movie, it's a good time. Watch it with a group of friends. You guys will have a fucking blast. It's so good. I highly recommend it. Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, 2004. Go watch it. Number two. Now this one crept up on me. That it became my number two. I just fucking love this movie, and this is a movie that I saw way late. I think I saw it in 2021, and it really jumped up. I really dig this goddamn movie. It's so good. It's a sequel, which this is also going to surprise people because this is probably a little controversial because a lot of people definitely love the first film, and it's great. Yeah, I love the first film too, but Psycho 2, 1983, directed by Richard Franklin. This movie's amazing. This movie is a masterpiece in its own right. I think it's better than Psycho 1. And I know it's weird to say that because it wouldn't exist unless Psycho, the original Psycho, came to be. So I will never argue with anybody that says they like Psycho more than Psycho 2 because the truth is, without Psycho, there is no Psycho 2. But I like Psycho 2 more, and I prefer to watch it more. It is such a great this is the way sequels should be done. So this is also like a legacy sequel too, because it was 22 years after the original. This is how you do a sequel after it's been years after the first one. This is in so many movies like these Halloween 2018, even Scream, which I do enjoy those. This nails it. This feels like its own movie, but it still keeps the legacy of the original. You got Anthony Perkins. His performance is amazing. I think it's even better than the first one. No shade to his performance in the first one. It's great, but I think he really takes it to the next level in Psycho 2 because he's doing something different. You're rooting for Norman Bates in this one, which is unique and interesting. You got Lila Loomis, which is Vera Miles. She's back. It's just Meg Tilly is phenomenal in this movie. Basically, Norman is released 22 years later after being in the insane asylum, because he was never charged in murder. He pled, guilty by insanity. He is recovered, psychiatrist played by what's it, Robert? How do you pronounce Robert Loggia? Loggia. He's great, but yeah, he's released back to the world. He goes back to his motel and back to his house. He's working in a diner. He meets a girl, Meg Tilly, who he's kind of fond of, and takes her in. She has no place to live, and once he takes her in, weird shit starts happening. He starts seeing, his mom from a distance. He started getting these calls. Starts getting these notes from his mother. So, someone's either fucking with him or he's losing his mind. And it's a great mystery. One of the coolest endings ever. I love it. One of the best twists in a film, I think. One of the best. It has like two twists, and they're both phenomenal in my opinion. Yeah, I don't want to say too much on this film. There's so many great scenes. This has two of my favorite kills ever in a slasher film. Yeah, it's so good. Anthony Perkins is great. Richard Franklin really directs it like a Hitchcock film, but in his own way. He adds his own flair to it, but it does feel like it's the same universe, and it's so well done. Yeah, it's fucking good. I mean, it doesn't get enough attention. I think it's starting to get more attention and stuff, but really underrated film. It's a true masterpiece in my opinion. Go watch it. Psycho 2. I mean, go watch Psycho and then watch Psycho 2 if you want to. But if you know Psycho, just go right into Psycho 2 because it's so good. I think you guys will be surprised. I think for the longest time, I'm like Psycho 2, like, like you just think the sequels are gonna be bad, but no, this fucking film rips. Even Psycho 3 is not bad either. It's a fucking good time. But Psycho 2 is a good time and a truly great piece of cinema, in my opinion. All right, and number one, the one that's probably never going to change. I never say it's set in stone, but there's a 99% chance this is not changing. The number one horror film for me, and I think the best horror film, is Scream 1996, directed by the great Wes Craven, written by Kevin Williamson. This is Scream is just great. It's so digestible. It's a great gateway horror film because it references horror films, and then you can get on a fucking um a rabbit hole with that. You get a bunch of great references in this film. So well written, so witty, so clever. The casting is pitch perfect in my opinion. David Arquette, Nev Campbell, Matthew Lillard. You got Skeet Ulrich. You got Roger L. Jackson as the voice of Ghostface, which is like one of the greatest voice castings ever, of all time. The guy has a fucking unique. It's like his voice is so interesting. It's creepy, eerie, but it's also like seductive. I don't know. It's great. You got Jamie Kennedy, you got Rose McGowan, Drew Barrymore. I mean, you got Leaf Schreiber in a very small role in this one, but um, just a great film. Great film. Such a good time. Even if you're not a fan of horror movies, you can watch Scream and you can definitely enjoy it. That's all good. The opening scene in this film is still terrifying and still brutal and still wrenching what happens in that opening scene. One of the best kind of what the fuck moments. It's a great first watch movie. If you know nothing about it and you're familiar with some of these actors like Drew Barrymore, watching Scream for the first time is awesome. It's so great. It's crazy that she could have been Sydney Prescott, but yeah, great cast. I mean, the opening scene is great. Wes Craven's directing in this film, like visually, is so stimulating to me. I love the way he shoots it. It's very like elegant, sophisticated with the steady cam work. It just looks gorgeous. Um, yeah, the cinematography is so good. I just it's who did the cinema? I'm trying to blank. No, Mark Irwin did the cinematography, and I know Peter Demi finished um, the rest of the like third act. For weird reasons, I guess that they blame Mark Irwin for. I guess some of the image came kind of dark. I don't know. Besides the point, great cinematography, great writing. The climax is so good. One of the best killer reveals of all time. And Matthew Lillard gives one of the best performances of all time. Truly do. I think his performance is so masterful. Even though people may say it's over the top, I don't give a fuck. It fucking works, and it is so good. He is iconic for this movie alone, and his performance is just that fucking good. Everybody's great in this movie. I mean, I have nothing bad to say. It's just an epic slasher film, a great satire on the slasher genre, but it's also a serious slasher film. It's not a parody. I always had an argument with someone saying that it was a parody. I'm like, it's not a fucking parody. It's a satire. There's a difference. It's not making fun necessarily of things. Scary movie, that's a parody. It's making fun and making jokes throughout the whole thing. This still has a seriousness to it. Yeah, it pokes fun, but it's not a parody. Scream is great. It's a comedy as well, but really it's a horror more than anything. It still doesn't go full comedy or anything like that. There's funny moments and stuff like that, but it's definitely a horror movie, definitely a slasher film, and it's definitely the best horror film of all time, in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if I'm crazy for saying that. Let me know what you think of my list. If you like these movies, if you would rank them differently, what would be your rankings? Give me your top 10. Yeah, I love horror films. I can't wait to make a certain horror film that I've written called Switchblade Holiday. So maybe the next one or my third film. I don't know. I got multiple films planned, so we'll see. But slasher films are my favorite subgenre in the horror genre. So I can't wait to make one. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of my list. Uh, Click the subscribe button, like this video. We got more content coming on, and we're going to be doing live soon. So yeah, definitely, definitely be on the lookout for that stuff. So yeah, this is Steven, 24 Chambers of Film. Thanks for watching.